So, here's what's up. Here's what we're doing today. Here's your homework. So I need your undivided attention right now. Your homework is to catch up on Chapter 7 mastery, on the practice work of that on Schoology, and then the Chapter 3 progressing to mastery is right here. If you're watching the video, it's over there. So, once we work through the whole test together, today in class, what we're doing is going over literally every single problem, but I need your help to solve these things. There are people in this room that mastered the test. There are people in this room that exemplaried the test. And there are people in this room that need some work. And that's okay. We all learn at a different rate. So, those of you that are mastered or exemplary, this time is your choice for what you do, but it must be quiet and not distracting to your peers. If you are progressing, to go from progressing to mastery, or if you are not progressing, or if your test was not finished. We had 2 days to take this test. When you have over like 90 minutes to work on something and can't get through it, that kind of communicates that you need a little bit more practice. So hopefully we've brainwashed you now at the point that progressing doesn't mean bad. Progressing means you're not quite there yet. So you're going to need every question you got wrong, you need a correction on that separate sheet of paper. Not the answer, you need the work for the correction. So you also need the answer, but if you turn in just answers, I'm turning it right back to you. If it is just answers, you're going to waste your time and do it again. So hear me when I say, write down the work that we are about to do together. Then, at the end of class today, and hopefully we have a little bit of time left over, grab a Progressing to Mastery, complete that. The questions are identical. I'm not joking, guys. Take this question, change the name and the numbers, same question on the Progressing to Mastery. Not joking. So, then you just complete that. I've already had people from the morning class turn that in because it is written easier than the original, and once we go over this together, it should be pretty quick because you'll have the correct solutions for every single problem. Any questions on what we're doing? All right, so I'm going to need help on these. On number 1, we want to figure out what percent of Franny's goal has she made if her goal is 1,000, and right now she only has $5 that Mrs. Goldring gave her. How do we calculate that percent? What do you think, Ella? How do we do this? Because my percentage is always part divided by whole, we divide 5 by 1,000. What do you get in decimal form when you do that? 0.005. Oh, so you mean you get 5 thousandths? Hey, look at how nice that is. So we get 5 thousandths in decimal form. Olivia? Okay, question? If you got, you answered the question right, you still get the for questions you got wrong. Yeah, for incorrect. But if you got it right, I need your guys' help as we process through this. So, this is not a percent, though. What do I need to do to turn it into a percent? Katie? We multiply by 100, which that moves your decimal point 2 places. So on a few of your guys' papers, I drew the arrows for moving the decimal point. This becomes 0.5%. So it's not 5%. The most common wrong answer I saw was 5%. It's 0.5%, or you could have written 0.5% if you prefer it that way. Any questions on that? Moving on to Layla and her book, same thing. We've got the part that she's read, and we know how big the book is. Brady, how do we solve for this percent?
Well, I started with 230 divided by 250.
There's no and there. And is decimal point, but everything else you said is correct.
And that equals 0.81. No,
812 thousandths, if you're trying to say it properly. To get into percent form. So I needed to see, because it asks for decimal and percent form, I needed to see this value and your final percent value of 81.2%. So you needed both what I have in blue here and what we have in green.
I did it a different way.
How's that?
Percent's right here and future's right there. You just do
Oh,
that.
you basically did it the same way.
Really?
Here's your division, and there's your multiplication.
Oh, it's like
So you multiply by 100, then you divide it, as opposed to dividing and then multiplying. So you did the same thing, just in a different order.
oh, okay.
On number 3, we have Eminal and Brennan. Who would ever think that those gentlemen would get bored? But they decided to count an entire bag of Skittles. They found out that there's 1,350 Skittles in the bag. I do not have that information verified, but it's pretty darn close because I made an approximation. Now, Brennan eats 19 of the Skittles. Eminal wants to figure out what percent did you just eat? And Eminal actually quite likes math. Normally get a high five from him almost every morning. So again, we need part divided by whole. But in this situation, what's my part? What's my whole? Olivia?
Your part is 19 and your whole is 1,350.
So this will give us, now the round, that's always once you get to your answer. That doesn't mean round and then convert to percent. I had a lot of people who gave me the answer as 1%. That's wrong. Because your answer needs to be to the hundredths place. So this 1% is close, but it's not accurate enough. Because this becomes 0. I'm forgetting exactly what it is. Is it, Katie, what is it? It's 0, 1, 4, 1. Is there anything after that?
Wait, no, it's one. Wait. I rounded it.
Yeah, see, that's rounded 2, Reagan.
It's 01407.
Yeah, that's what I thought. This starts to kind of repeat the 407 for a moment. So we get this big long number when we put it in our calculator. Before we round, we have to make it percent. So again, we multiply by 100. That moves our decimal. That will become 1.407. But when I round to the hundredths place, I look at the thousandths. It tells my 0. We get 1.41%. Any questions on that? Yes? Still not quite accurate. So I may have given that to you and let it slide, but that's still not quite accurate. So as we get further in the year, guys, I'm gonna get more nitpicky. If it says round to the hundredths place, technically you're not right unless your answer goes to the hundredths place and rounds accurately. I'm trying to prep you for those like broad tests, the state tests and the ACT and the SAT and all those tests you're going to get to. They don't care if your answer's close. It's right or it's wrong. That's it. Now on like written responses, there's rubrics and there's things you can get partial credits there. But like numerical answers, it's right or it's wrong. That's it. Ready? Sure. So Ethan has 48% of his 21 Eagle required merit badges. This is true info. I'm an Eagle Scout. You need 21 merit badges. There's specific required and non-required merit badges. So, Bunger, but I made this up. So he's probably actually got more than that at this point. But these are all 8th grade names. I haven't reset this test for names. So Brady, how do we calculate how many badges he has right now?
Well, since you're trying to calculate the whole, right?
You tell me. We say that he has 48% of his 21. Really, we don't even need anything else. Just 48% of his 21.
So, would it be 48 divided by 21?
So, did you get this right or not? So, if you don't know how you did it, then that says something about the fact that this was a few days ago, like a little while, and you've forgotten. Between then and now, you've forgotten your process. So, think about the practicality of this problem. There are 21 badges required to get Eagle. He has 48%. Does he have more or less than what he needs? He has less, right? Brady, what's of tell me to do?
Oh, now I know.
So, what do we do?
So, it would be 48
So can I multiply with the percent sign? No. So what do I have to do to this value before I can multiply? Yeah, that percent tells me divide by 100. So this becomes the part that he has is going to be 0.48 times 21. Now here's the problem with merit badges. You either earn it or you don't. I never got my shotgun merit badge. The one requirement that I couldn't do. Skeet shooting, 50 clay pigeons, you had to get at least 30 out of the 50. I'm not a very good skeet shooter, and we were shooting slug. If you know anything about guns, that's tough. So, I never got shotgun. I had every requirement except for one. I don't get a partial badge. I get no badge. So, when we get this answer of 10.08, really, how many badges does he have approximately, Brady? 10.
It was also kind of easy to figure out if you see 48 is about half and 21 is a little bit more than 10.
Yeah.
10 times 2, so then you can just kind of approximate and then you can figure it out after, like, to see if your answer is close to 10.
Did you all hear what he just said?
No, I didn't.
48%. Say that again, slow down a little bit.
Okay, so 48% is about a half.
About. So where is it compared to a half? Is it over or under?
It's under.
It's just under a half.
So just under a half, and half of 21, and just under it would be 10. Just
Sorry.
under half.
So if we looked at half of 21, it'd be 10 and a half. Josh can reason through this and say, if I know that 48% is slightly less than half, he'll have slightly less than 10.5, has to be 10. The only other thing it could be is something lower than that, but man, we're so close to 50%, I'd trust that reasoning through it. That was a really good way to solve that.
Hey, Mr. Hudson.
Yeah.
So what happens if you got all your badges?
There are like literally hundreds of badges. Like, so there's a set of required badges that you have to earn. Like, you have to get one of swimming, biking, or hiking. Like, you choose one of those. Then you have to get one of like citizenship in the nation, citizenship in the community. Like, there's these. Yeah. So, and I forget which ones are the selections because I had all my sit-in badges. We always called them sit-in. So it was like sit in the nation, sit in the. But so. Those you have to earn like 11 of them, and then you have to earn, and I don't know the numbers exactly right now because I haven't been involved in the Scouts that much recently, but then you have elective badges, and this is just like high school. You have classes you have to take and classes you get to choose. Those choosable ones, there's hundreds of options. So you will never get all of the badges. Like one badge that I got was shortwave radio. I know how to operate a shortwave radio and communicate to people, and like, it was that's not required. I was just interested in it. One of my friends, actually, one of the people at Phoenix got their gardening merit badge during a discovery day.
Yeah, I want to say something about it. There's a merit badge about how to make pulp and paper with pulp.
Yeah, how to like make your own paper. It's sweet. It's like old, and that again is an elective badge though. Required ones like first aid, cooking, like those skills that you gotta learn in the Scouts. We got to keep moving on. Sorry, I know we got a lot of stories, but we got to keep moving on. So 5 screwed up a lot of people. So if you missed 5, you were in the majority. Here's what it comes down to. Percent, we know, is found part divided by whole. However, here, give me your eyes for a second. This asks, the new price of the cupcake is what percent of the cost? So if I write this as a statement, the new price is some percent of the cost. Well, we know the new price is $1.50. It's some percentage times the 30 cents. And the most common wrong answer I had was 20%. Because they took 30 cents and divided it by $1.50. But this problem is the other way around. It's not saying part and whole where we have part that's less than the whole. We're used to the part less than the whole. Here, my part that I'm looking at, the price I'm charging, is way bigger than the whole. The whole is what we paid. The part is $1.50. So to get your percent here, what we actually do is $1.50 divided by 30 cents, which comes out to be 5. But that's not 5%. That's 5. Like your new price is 5 times the cost, which means that as a percent, when I multiply by 100, we get 500%. So you want to take the new price divided by the previous. Guys, there's an identical problem to this on the Progressing to Mastery. So please have this written down.
Like completely identical?
The only things that have changed are the names and the numbers. Like, it's the exact same type of problem, different numbers.
Okay.
And I bet you I changed the people. But,
But do they still sell cupcakes?
they did last year, 2 years ago, last year. I think those guys are 8th graders. I forget if Phoenix Fair was before or after this chapter last year. We have to move the schedule around every year a little bit. 6 was not a choice. It was not an option. It was not a multiple choice. It was asking you, and we went over this in class, it wants to know the new price of the markers. So some of you came up and asked me about this, which was really great because then I could have an easy discussion. Forget about this problem for a minute. Just give me your eyes and your attention. I buy a pack of markers for $4. I want to sell these markers, but I want to make money. So I mark the price up. Now I don't want to mark the price up too much because I want to still be cheap enough that people buy it. So I mark my price up by 50% of what I paid. So what did I pay again?
$4.
$4, right, for my markers. What would be 50% of $4? Anybody? $2, right? So if I'm going to increase my price by that much, what's my new price? 6. Because I had my original, which was 4. Then we multiply by 50. Can you not? So here's the 2 options. Why I wrote the problem how I did it. You have 2 options. First option, Saul, can you stay with us, please? First thing you do is original price times markup percent. So my original price, my $4, times my markup percent. That gives me my $2. Then we have to add it. So I just add to my 4 and I get my 6. The other option, which is actually faster, is add your percent values. So you take 100% plus the markup. Well, what was your markup percent? 50, right? So what's 100 plus 50?
Oh, 150.
150. So I get 150% times the original price, times my original price, and that gives me 6. Either way you solve this, you get $6. The other reason I write problems like this, hint, hint, nudge, nudge for the future, this will help you on the rest of the test, being able to refer back to these 2 methods. So if you forget things, look at the test and see what in the test might be able to help me with the rest of the test. Like, who on the Chapter 2 test couldn't remember what m was called? The m value and y equals mx? Yeah, it was in the test. The words constant of proportionality were in the test multiple times. So if you were being a careful reader, you would have seen that.
That's actually what I do whenever there's this thing I don't know. I always just flip through to see if I can find it.
Yes, skip it for the current time. Come back once you're done with everything else. Amtrak's super fast railroad. Amtrak fares are going to increase 8% next month. Approximately how much is a ticket going to cost now? Who can help me solve this? Carol?
So you could start with 419.90 cents times 0.08.
So you are doing this to find the increase amount, right?
Dual pass or
I don't know. This question's made up. I'll admit that.
That's a little bit expensive for one ride.
I mean, it's comparable to like a plane ticket. Amtrak's not that cheap because it's really nice. Like, you can get a sleeper car where you have a bed
But how
while
long
you're
are you
traveling.
on,
Huh?
Wait, so
How
is
long are
that
you on?
true?
You could go from East Coast to West Coast. Like you could literally railroad to almost anywhere in the country. Because that was the original, that was how we all got around before planes. So, you do this, and you found $33.59. This is the increase amount. So what do we do with an increase amount? So to find our new price, we take our original, add our increase amount, and we get $453.49. Guys, a little bit of rounding I let slide. You need to try to be as accurate as possible. Some people rounded this up to 50 cents. I'm like, okay, I get that you want to round things. It's easier, but we want to care about accuracy. We need to care about accuracy. So please do not round unless you've been told to do so. Any questions? Because there's a lot of questions almost identical to this one. Like the next question and like actually the rest of them use this skill pretty much. Grocery prices are also going to increase. Welcome to the world. This is called, what is it when prices go up? Inflation. So grocery prices also inflate. Just because, honestly, our dollar keeps getting worth less. So, like, just the more money they print, the less it's worth.
And it's a lot easier to raise prices on things like food because you
Well,
need it.
easy is kind of relative.
But slowly. But I mean, like, it can be easier to raise the price on that than it is to, like, raise the price on a chair. Or, like,
Yeah, but it also goes back to wants versus needs. Like, if you're the guy controlling prices, I'd rather up a price on a want than up a price on a need. Like, if I stop you from buying a loaf of bread because I made the price too high, that, like, but that's me, right? I'm not a businessman. I don't care about the profit at the end of the day. I care about really trying to make the world a better place. And this is why I'm trying to make your guys' life better and easier.
not a lot of business.
So to calculate the increase, we do the same thing Carolyn just did for our Amtrak problem. Who can help me through this? Not Carolyn. Sorry. Love you, dear. You're great. Can't go to your forever question. I can't tell because you're in a cast. Are you wanting to help me? I couldn't tell if you were just trying to get blood moving or what, like...
Wait, possibly.
So, by how much? What do we know about the increase? Caleb, now you got me. What do we know about the increase, Caleb?
That it goes up by
4% of what?
159.
Yeah, 4% of the previous, right? So if I do that mathematically, my 4% turns into... Yeah. Then my previous price, you already told me, is that $159.50. When we calculate this, we find the price it's going to go up by... Katie, you got that already?
Well, the answer to that part is $6.38.
Then what do we do with that $6.38, Katie?
You add it together with the $159.50.
Yeah, I take what the price was, add the increase. We found out that these groceries are expected to cost... Yeah.
$165.80.
I want you guys, now that we've gone over those last two problems, a decent amount of people miss number 9. Take a look at that on your own for a second. Think about what process you did versus what needs to happen. If you end up sick, don't come to school. Don't get us all sick. You know my class. It's always available online. All right. So, can anyone talk about how we need to approach problem 9? Because it's a big, lengthy problem. A lot's going on. They first have their price increased, then they actually get a discount. So we have to do a few things here. Is that a hand? I can't ever tell if you're trying to be timid or... So, talk about our process.
So first you want to find out how it originally increased so that you can take the 10% discount away from how it increased.
So I want you guys actually, right now, with your pencil or whatever, do this. There are two parts to this problem. Exactly what Carolyn just said. First, we got to do our increase. Then, not at the same time, after, we'll then do the decrease. So, how do we do the increase, Carolyn? Hold on.
Good afternoon. Colin Williams and Leah Gimble, please come to the office. Colin Williams and Leah Gimble to the office, please. Thank you.
So first you multiply 400 by 0.25, which gets you $100.
Yeah, I like to do my percent first. So I'm just going to write 25% of the 400. Then that gets you, with 25%, again, we should be able to recognize that's a fourth.
What's 1/4 of 400?
So then what do I do with that 100, though? This is where people start to get screwed up. What do I do with these numbers?
You add that to the original price, which gets you $500.
That was how much it was more than normal. So add that with your 400 and find out that the new higher price is 500.
But they received the
But we're not done. That's the end of part 1. So now we move on to part 2, which I'm actually going to recolor code to be blue. Josh?
So what we do is we have the 500. Then we also have 10%. 10% of 500. 10 divided by 500 equals 50. 500 minus 50 equals...
Hold on. You're getting ahead of me. So 10%. Here's another place where people goofed up. It's 10% on the higher price. Some people calculated 10% of the 400. It's on the higher price. And this actually saves you more money. Because if you did it on the lower price, you'd only save 40. When you do it on the higher price, like Josh said, you save 50. Now what do I do with that 50 to find my final price?
From the 500.
I take it away from my 500. So we do the 500 minus the discount of 50, and my final price is $450. Questions? This is a lengthy process. Number 10 is exactly the same, except it's in the reverse order. The first thing we do is a discount, then we increase the price. So let's look at number 10. We have a bicycle helmet that's normally priced at $18.50, which is actually a great price. Bike helmets are way more expensive than you would ever think. Seriously, I just had to buy a new one. They're upwards of $200 because they're protecting your chrome dome, and this thing's important. So people, yeah. Chrome dome? Remember, normally people that have no hair, it's a chrome dome because it's shiny. So, the first thing we do. Now, actually, no, I don't want to confuse anybody. So let's find, if it's 10% off, I need to figure out what this 10% is, and then if it's off, if it's off, I remove it from the price. So my sale, not my sale price, but the amount of sale is 10% off, or 0.10 times the original price. 10% just shifts your decimal. So you get 1.85 or $1.85. Not a lot of savings, but hey, it's savings. Money I don't have to spend. So now, to find the sale price, what do? Al? That original $18.50 minus my savings of $1.85. I find that the sale price is $16.65. Yeah. So this is my on sale price. So So I could like give this a little price tag or something. Yay. On sale. Sorry, not decimal there. That decimal kind of got absorbed by the 6. But we're not done. Because is this bike helmet food? No, and that sounds like a dumb question, but why am I asking that? Brady? What about it, Aiden? Food doesn't have tax. Your answer was kind of lamp answer. You got to give a little bit more detail. Yeah. So, now we got to calculate tax. Uncle Sam has to get his cut. Tax is 7%. Pretty average for Ohio. So this is going to become, what's 7% as a decimal? Just anybody.
0.07.
Yeah, 0.07.
7%.
Times. Now, what is being taxed? Yeah, but what, like, Aiden? Yes? No? Is that a hand? Elbow? What do I multiply my 0.07 by? Olivia? Katie? This price doesn't exist anymore. The 1850's gone. What gets taxed is my sale price. So this gets multiplied by the 1665.
Can I say something?
Of course.
Okay, well, I think 7 is pretty close to 10%.
Doesn't work like that. Where it's like you can't combine the percentages. You have to do the first change, then the second change.
I know, but I mean, the 7% seems kind of close to 10.
It is. But here's the thing. Your discount is more than the tax. So you'll still get a better price, even after we pay tax. So when I find this tax, it comes out to be, yeah?
1.1655.
So if I round that, it's going to be $1.17. So if I got to round to the hundredths place, it's money, right?
But couldn't you do it so you do it times 10%, then you do times 7%?
Well, we pretty much are. So the problem is that 10% is how much gets removed. So I have to do the percent, then a subtraction. Then I have to do another percent, and then in addition, because tax increases my price. So now to find my final, I take my 1665, add, go ahead. And what do we get? Because I don't know that. $17.81. So you still saved money. And guys, no matter what,
Good afternoon, Xavier Jennings. Please come to the office. Xavier
Tax.
Jennings to the office, please.
tax increases your price. So the fact that, well, we didn't save that much. People like to complain, we didn't save that much. Yeah, you really did. Because instead of taking the original price and paying extra for tax, you actually ended up paying less than the original price to begin with after tax. So you still got a decent deal. Yeah.
Isn't it 1782 because 5 plus 7 equals 12?
Yeah, I would agree with that. There was some rounding discrepancy. If you did not round this up to a 7, then you didn't have a 7 here, and you would have had a 1 there. So if you rounded this incorrectly, check your work. If you had this as a $1.16, then you ended up with $17.81. But technically, if you rounded correctly, it should be $17.82. Other questions? All right. 11. This goes back to if all you did was give me an answer, I probably didn't accept it. I need to see some work. Now, on the line, if all you wrote on the line was Macy's, that's fine, but I need work that supports it. Brady, you trying to solve this?
Yeah.
What do we do?
So,
Actually, I'm going to make this harder on you. I think you can step up to this challenge.
oh
If we are going to save 15%, what percent am I actually going to pay? If we save 15%, what percent do we pay? What do we end up paying?
For which one?
Ignore Kmart. Nothing happens at Kmart, so it's real easy.
50.78.
You're not listening to my question. I know what you're telling me, and it's right, but you're not listening to my question. If we get 15% off my price, what percent would I have paid with no savings? What percent, Brady, would I pay with no savings? 100%, the whole thing. So if we save 15%, what percent am I left to pay? Close. Your subtraction needs some tweaking. 85%. So if you want to speed up your process, instead of, Josh, focus. Instead of finding 15% and then subtracting it, you can subtract the percents and then do the percent work. So you already told it to me, but your sale price for Macy's, whichever way you do it, whether you do it the quick way that I'm showing you, or whether you do it the little bit longer way, what do you get as that sale price?
50.78.
$50.78. So which is cheaper? That one on sale or the Kmart one, which started cheaper? Which is cheaper now? Macy's, right? And somebody last year asked, why don't we care about tax? Would you pay tax at Macy's? On a CD player? Yeah, it's not food. Would you pay tax at Kmart? Yeah, you'd pay tax at either store. So you ignore tax when you're comparing prices because you're going to pay tax regardless. Ellie? You had 70 what? Yeah, that's what I had too. That goes into a calculation rounding error. So technically, my answer that I had was 50.77. But if you had 78, that probably just went to a calculator rounding issue. So Macy's is your better buy. Now, still on the same Macy's vein. And by the way, the numbers in these problems are kind of made up. Like the treadmill, I actually looked up you'll see the treadmill on the Progressing to Mastery, but like sometimes I look up what things cost. These watch numbers are totally made up. Like the watches that we would sell there were in hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars. So I made this up to be a little bit easier. When we talk about percent change, I keep tripping over my cord. When we talk about percent change, how do I calculate a percent change? It's a percent, so it's still like part and whole, but instead of part and whole now, my whole is the previous amount, where my part is the change amount. If you got 12 wrong, you need to write this formula down to remind yourself, unless I already wrote it on your paper, which some of you I did. To find this change amount, I'm going to set my division up down here. How do I calculate that change? Aiden? We subtract the new price and the old price, find the difference. Then divided by what was the previous price? 110. This gives me $89.20 over 110, which when I do the division comes out to be right about 81%. It's the change amount over the previous.
Wait, I have a question.
Okay.
So I did this, I got 81.09 and you underlined 12. What does that mean?
Oh, so Miss Price helped me with this grading. When she's here as just an extra, she'll come around and ask us if we have anything that she can help us with. She underlined that so I would go back and look at it because you didn't have precisely what I had. On my key, it said 81%. So you're fine.
Okay.
It's that
So Miss Price
question.
or Miss Pettigrew?
Miss Price. So, moving on,
Me, I'm telling Miss Pettigrew.
Mr. Kabila accidentally spilled some chemical on Einstein. If you haven't realized it yet, the bearded dragon's name is Einstein. Because people earlier were like, wait, the guy? Why is he only 14 inches? It's the bearded dragon. So, Einstein approximately was 14 inches. Kabila leaves, that chemical was spilled on him. He comes back in the morning and finds out that Einstein grew 20% larger than he was. So Riley, if I want to calculate 20% of Einstein's length, how can we do that? Can you hang on to it when we're not full group? Like, why are you walking up to me to ask me a question when I'm teaching everybody? I'll help you, but give me a minute. That was kind of really awkward. You're not. Sorry to break it to you. Riley. It's okay. I called on you because you were talking instead of focusing. So, we want to find out how much Einstein grows by. So I want you to write down somewhere whether you're above or below. I got to use both because I write too big. Einstein is going to grow by 20%, but it's 20% of what? Of his previous. So of the 14. So we really do... Hey, what's up? Can I help? Okay. So we do 0.20 times 14. This gives me 2.8, but that's not our answer yet. If that's how much Einstein grew by, how do I find out his final length? We just add them because he was 14, grew by 2.8. So we do 14 plus the 2.8. His length that morning would have been 16.8 inches, and Kabila would probably be very confused. Now you got a bigger class pet. We might need to get a new aquarium at that point. Sears. Yes, I've worked a lot of places. Sears has me pricing up some snowblowers.
Good afternoon, Grace Cummings. Please come to the office. Grace Cummings to the office, please. Thank you.
I give you guys the easy way to do this. We can just do 115% of the previous price. So when we calculate the new price, we just do 115% of the $599.95, and that gets me a final new price of, who can help me? 600. What is it? Yeah, that's it. Because when we combine the percentages first, I got one more problem. Hang on with me, guys. When I combine the percentages first, I just do one step and I'm done. The last problem. We got to set up our interest formula, and you guys can see everything, so I'm going to scoot over. Interest equals principal times rate times time. So we know that Divine earned $162. He had put in an initial $1,800 at a rate of, is it 3%? Yeah, 3%. And we are trying to solve for the time. Here's the trick that a lot of people are missing, and you'll get better at this as we go into chapter 7. We can do this. So we do. That comes out to be 54 times t equal to 162. And to get the t by itself, Reagan? We divide by 54 on both sides, and we get that t will be 3 years. If you had a progressing or not progressing, my suggestion is take your original test, put your corrections on top of that, grab a progressing to mastery, put it on top of that, and staple them all together. Stapler over there, stapler over here.